JD Vance is already being thrown under the bus for the memorandum of understanding between the Trump regime and Iran. Here is what we're learning. Kelly Meyer from News Nation reports that leadership of the MAGA Republicans in the House and the Senate are placing all the blame on JD Vance for what they call as a terrible deal of surrender with Iran. One congressional Republican is telling Kelly Meyer conservatives on the Hill are stunned that Vance would erase all of Trump's military victories in such a terrible deal. Trump effectively won the war, and at the 11th hour, as Trump was about to declare a total victory and get Iran to surrender, Vance just negotiated his way to a loss. Earlier today, Donald Trump, with a smile, said, if it works out, I'm going to take credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. And to be clear, that was state regime media, which calls itself Fox, asking Donald Trump that question and planting that seed in his head. Let's just blame JD for it, Donald. And that's what state regime media was going with all day. I'll show you that in just a moment. Also, Rupert Murdoch had previously told Donald Trump that he much more would rather have Rubio be in charge of negotiations than JD Vance. Trump praised the deal reached with Iran during his visit to the G7 in France. He signed the copy of the MOU tonight at Versailles. I mean, quite literally repeating the Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I in German humiliation. And that's where Donald Trump signed this. You can't make it up. Trump selected Vance to lead the Iran talks over Rubio. And now Rubio, CIA Director John Ratcliffe, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth are all pointing the finger at JD Vance and saying he's to blame. Also in Israel, you have Netanyahu and his Mossad basically saying that JD Vance is compromised, that JD Vance was leaking information from the Mossad to Turkey. They're basically accusing JD Vance of being a spy for Turkey and the Arab nations, and they are making a concerted effort to dig up dirt on JD Vance to try to destroy his life right now. Let me show you what they're doing on state regime media, which calls itself Fox. You have Brian Kilmeade saying that this terrible deal was the product of JD Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner, who just destroyed Donald Trump's legacy. I think Donald Trump destroyed any legacy a long time ago. His legacy will be one of being the most vile piece of trash that ever walked this planet. But here is what Kilmeade had to say. Let's play it.
All I'm going to say is the vice president was here, did a wonderful job on every outlet, including The View. But this is his deal. It's not the president's deal. And it's his deal and Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner together. I just hope they didn't let the president down, because the president's putting a lot of stock in them.
Right.
And he can't do everything himself. I just hope they didn't let him down.
All right.
And this is what state regime media, which calls itself Fox, was running with all day. They brought on Ben Shapiro, who said, yeah, JD Vance did not serve Donald Trump well. This is all JD Vance's fault. Here, play this clip.
That said, this MOU appears to be, just from the text, a disaster that does not achieve any of the actual signal goals that were set by the administration at the beginning. There were effectively 5 goals that were set by the administration at the beginning. One was ending the nuclear program, not just nuclear weapons, no nuclear enrichment, zero enrichment. That is not in the deal. Ballistic missiles ended. That is not in the deal. And the president today suggested that ballistic missiles should actually continue to be held by the Iranians because the Saudis, our allies, also hold ballistic missiles. Then you have the support of terrorism. That is not part of the deal. Anything that looks like an attempt to end terrorism. A permanent opening of the Strait of Hormuz toll-free. Not only is that not in the deal appears to have a provision allowing Iran and Oman to attempt to toll the Strait after 60 days. And then finally, the idea that Iran would receive some sort of sanctions relief after all of those things happen. We are already seeing from day one relief in their ability to ship oil out of Iran. In my opinion, the vice president of the United States, the chief negotiator on this particular project, has not well served the president.
So notably, Donald Trump, when he was at the G7, forgot JD Vance's name. He called him a man, a person, a good person. JD, here, play this clip.
That got a man, a person, a good person. JD made a statement. It was a perfect statement.
And here's the moment where you had state regime media, which calls itself Fox, asking Donald Trump about the MOU and saying, are you going to blame JD Vance if it doesn't work out well? And Donald Trump said yesterday, yeah, if it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. He says it in that weird kind of demented way of his. Let's play this clip.
This is a memorandum of understanding. It's very important, but it might not be the kind of a document that I should be signing.
There's some element to this where you send the vice president. If it works out, great, you look like a genius for sending him. And if it doesn't work out, it's the vice president's
I like
fault.
that idea, sure. Well, this way, if it works out, I'm going to take the credit. If it doesn't work out, I'm blaming JD. You better be careful, JD. He's going to turn his plane around and get the hell out of here. Yeah, I like that idea. I think it's a good idea. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
I want to remind you as well that back on April 1st, 2026, Donald Trump also said, if it doesn't go well, I'm going to blame JD. This is from April 1. Let's play this clip as well.
He's working on the deal, right? How's that moving? Is it okay? The big deal? You see it happening? So if it doesn't happen, I'm blaming JD Vance. If it does happen, I'm taking full credit. No, I think it'll be, I think it has to happen. I think they're desperate.
If you're anything like me, a lot of the information you take in every day doesn't come from sitting down and reading a report. It comes from conversations, interviews, meetings, phone calls, and discussions with people who know something you don't. The problem is those conversations move fast and it's easy to forget an important detail later. That's exactly why I've been using Plod. Plod creates these AI-powered wearable devices that help capture, organize, and recall information from real-world conversations and moments. So whether it's an interview, a meeting, a phone call, or just a voice memo, it captures the details while you stay focused on the conversation. Afterward, everything is searchable, organized, and easy to reference. It supports transcription in 112 languages, is trusted by more than 2 million users worldwide, and is built with enterprise-grade privacy and compliance standards. I have the Plod NotePin S here. It's a small wearable device that follows me throughout the day, so whether I'm preparing for the show, discussing breaking news, or organizing thoughts between recordings, it lets me capture important details without constantly reaching for my phone. It's made my workflow a lot easier because I can stay engaged in the conversation instead of worrying about taking notes. And it even helps me with the basic stuff I'm bad at, like remembering people's names. Say I'm in a meeting and a lot of people I just met are speaking, it'll organize all the information. I can easily look up who was who, remind myself of the action items, so I could actually be present in the moment and be sure that none of the information discussed gets away from me because I could always look it up later. And there's a bunch of ways to wear it. There's a magnetic pin, a clip, a lanyard to wear as a necklace like the one I have on now, a wristband. It's super cool and so helpful. If your day is driven by conversations, interviews, analysis, and staying informed, Plod helps make sure nothing important gets lost. Get up to 20% off with code Meidas at plod.ai/Meidas. That's PLAUD.ai/Meidas. MEIDAS.
And you can see behind Donald Trump when Trump is talking about this deal and Trump is talking about how Iran should be able to have enriched uranium. Iran should be able to have ballistic missiles. They should have everything that other Middle East nations have, Donald Trump saying. You'll see how furious Marco Rubio is behind him. Rubio looks like he is at a funeral. Listen to what Trump is saying, but let's look at Rubio's expression as Donald Trump is blabbering. Let's play this clip.
Sir, you shouldn't let them have any missile. I said, well, what am I going to do? Am I going to let Saudi Arabia have missiles, but they can't have them? Yes, sir. It doesn't work that way, you know? It doesn't work that way. And missiles aren't the problem. Missiles are, they hurt a little location, but they don't blow up the planet. So the Gulf nations will address the non-nuclear issues. As we'll be talking about the ballistic missiles, and we'll talk also about the terrorist proxies that they have, that we don't want that to happen. But I want to thank our partners in both Pakistan and...
Meanwhile, you have the neocon Netanyahu propagandists. The big right-wing accounts are all saying the following. I could show you hundreds of posts, like thousands of posts. I'll just show you one exemplar. You have this account right over here with the American and Israeli flag in it, AK74STL. I stand with Marco Rubio, Hegseth, and every other principled conservative who thinks this deal is complete horseshit. I blame JD Vance, Jared Kushner, and Steve Witkoff, weak and pathetic men. I hope Trump comes to realize the disaster that is and how he has been led astray. You have all of the propagandists close to Netanyahu and Israel, his versions of the Sean Hannity, also slamming JD Vance as the devil and saying that JD Vance managed to manipulate Donald Trump to do this, and Witkoff and Kushner cared more about their own personal business dealings with Arab nations based upon their private equity funds in the region, that they did this over us. Could you believe it? They're traitors. We need Rubio and Hegseth and Ratcliffe to go and push JD Vance out. That's what you're getting right now. Now, we are hearing this as well. This is what Axios previously reported, and these are the types of leaks coming out right now. At a private dinner in October 2025, Donald Trump asked Rupert Murdoch, "Can you compare JD Vance and Secretary of State Rubio?" Murdoch was noticeably warmer toward Rubio. "What do you think of JD?" Trump asked. "Well, I think JD has potential." "Well, what do you think about Rubio?" "Rubio is brilliant," Murdoch said. By the way, just again, look at Rubio's face right there. What was JD doing earlier today? He was selling his book called Communion, and he was like selling this like he was, trying to sell Donald Trump's $60 sticky Bibles. This is what JD Vance was doing. Let's play it.
I've been on the show for all of a half an hour. It's appropriate. This is about faith and religion because y'all need Jesus.
And then JD Vance was turning a political rally into a sales pitch for his book today as well. You can see that right here. Let's play that clip.
Book, Communion, by JD Vance, available everywhere books are sold starting yesterday. So go out and get that book, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. We got Brick Suit Man here, a celebrity in his own right. It's good to see you guys.
Now, I'll remind you as well what JD Vance has been saying recently, and he's been saying this consistently for over a year. He's been saying, and I think he says this sarcastically with a wink and a nod. He goes, and I'll show you one he did a little bit ago, where he said, "Donald Trump is very healthy. I've never seen a man more healthy than Mr. Trump. He's a very healthy man. But if tragedy strikes, if something happens to him, I will be ready to fill in." Doesn't that tell you everything right there? Here, play this clip.
Go with the flow pretty well. Do you have quiet moments? You think about that?
Yeah, honestly, Sean, I try not to. I mean, one, I serve under Donald Trump, who is very healthy.
He casts a pretty big shadow.
He casts a big shadow, but if I served under Joe Biden, I'd probably be worried every minute of every day that he was going to croak and that I'd have to become president. But because I serve a president...
You have a bat phone. Okay, did it just happen?
Like, I'd never be able to sleep. I'd always have my cell phone as loud as possible. But no, the president, one, he's got a lot of energy. He's extremely healthy. So I don't think about that. Obviously, that's part of the job, is you've got to be ready if tragedy strikes. But the thing that
Meanwhile, we know that Israeli intelligence, as I noted, is leaking essentially their view that JD Vance is a spy for Turkey and for Arab nations, is basically what they're saying. That they're saying he leaked classified information from the Mossad to Erdogan of Turkey to undermine Israel and the Mossad. That's what they're saying. And then we have leaks from CIA Director Ratcliffe and Rubio and Hegseth saying that they warned that Iran is never going to follow through with the terms of the deal that Vance negotiated. And Vance got played and you got played. And the CIA is saying, Donald, you're in a world of hurt. Also, we're getting these leaks out that it was JD Vance who wanted the Epstein files released. Interesting timing to have those leaks out. The leaks are saying that JD Vance said, "We know that Donald Trump's past is filled with disgusting allegations and jury verdicts where he's been found liable for sexual assault. So let's just release all of the Epstein files." It is interesting whether or not JD Vance was really doing that we're having all these leaks right now of Vance being pointed to as the person that release all the files, when we know that Donald Trump is certainly worried about those Epstein files being released. And then you have JD Vance saying the other day, if you want to make America great again, you got to vote against the crazy leadership in Washington. Okay, that's you. That's Donald. That's all. That's the regime. That's the regime that's in power. Here's what JD said. Let's play it.
So I'm not going to ask you to agree with us on every issue because that would be impossible. What I will ask you is, if you want to make America great, if you want to protect your jobs and hopefully build jobs in this beautiful factory, if you want to make our streets even safer, if you want to rebuild the American dream for the next generation, vote against the crazy leadership in Washington, D.C. Vote for.
Well, there you have it, folks. JD being thrown under the bus. Will they try to get JD fired and no longer be the VP? Will JD try to get Trump cabinet members fired? To be continued, but hit subscribe. Let's get to 7 million subscribers.
Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at MeidasPlus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at MeidasPlus.com.